Okay. Are we working or what we got here? Oh, it just automatically started streaming me, or I guess I'm live? Just automatically started streaming me, or okay. Okay, well, it's 3 o'clock, so hello YouTube land. Hopefully it's showing that I am live. This is my first time ever streaming on YouTube, and kind of like Facebook, there's so many little things you gotta go through to get it to work. So, Twitch is definitely a little bit easier to get this to happen. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to do some really quick little double checks to make sure that I am actually live, and that everything is going here. Capture key moments as they happen. So there's like, I got all this stuff popping up on me right now. So, interesting. I got analytics, I got stream settings here. You know, looks like you guys have seen in my Photoshop like it's supposed to be. So, okay, so OBS is coming through fine. Again, my apologies. This is my first time kind of messing around with this. You learn as you go, you know, you break things as you go on. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna go with the fact that it's showing me that I'm live, that I'm good to go. I'm gonna pop this chat out. I tried to connect my account through YouTube and it didn't want to stream it, so I had to literally get the stream key to get this to work, which is weird. I was like, well, I signed in under my account. I promise, it's me. But no, it's like, nope, I don't like it. I don't like it. Oh, let's see. Okay, all right. I'm just, again, my apologies. I was set up for all this, and then I got started over again here. Let me get the chat window over here so I can keep a chat. That's another thing too. I wish I could do this through my phone. Like on Twitch, they have the app where you can do everything through your phone, but it doesn't seem to be an option through YouTube Creator Studio, which is a little disappointing. But you know, that's the way it goes. But speaking of YouTube, I guess I could double check YouTube to see if I'm actually streaming like I'm supposed to. I know, since I'm not used to doing all this stuff and everything, I like to try to take the time to make sure I haven't lost my ever-loving mind. Oh wait, I did. Let's see. Can I see my channel? Is it possible? Can I? No. It's like, nope, no channel for you. No, you cannot see your channel. Go to YouTube. Okay. You. Assuming I am streaming. I thought I had turned on my community thing. No. It's just trying to load everything at this point. No, I don't need more info about my own channel. I just want to view my channel. Can I view my channel? No. Well, let's see if I can just go through the old internet instead of trying to go to the Creative Studio for it to show me, right? Oh my goodness. You know, like I said many times on some of my other videos, and if it's like when technology works, it works. But when it doesn't, YouTube 7 Studios. Oh my goodness. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't want to do that. Hey, I am live. Okay, so now that we got that established, I just wanted to make sure, because when I was on Facebook, I have my career page on Facebook, and I was there, and I literally sat here for an hour drawing and everything, talking, and then it never got broadcast. And something happened with Facebook, even though it was showing me I was on and everything, it never got put out. So I was like, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to sit here for an hour and work on this piece, and then it disappears. But anyway, thank you for joining me. My name is Jeremy Cooper. As you have, if you take the time to see, I am an artist and a writer. I also do the occasional game night streams and stuff, if you never joined me with me before. And lately what I've been doing is I've been working on this piece for No Man's Sky. It's something that came to me recently, and I talked about during the streaming. If you guys are curious, you can catch the first part of it here on my channel, where I did it on Twitch on Wednesday nights and everything, and breaking down on how I put this together piece. And this whole piece has been a whole new experience for me. Because normally what I do is I sketch everything out, I draw it in pencil, I scan it, and I put it in. But lately I've been trying to get more and more digital. And since, if you are aware, or maybe you're not aware, I had an XP pen tablet, but my computer only has one bloody port, display port that works. So I couldn't hook it up, and it's been a whole big thing. So I had to go back to my beautiful Wacom tablet in Tourist 3. From like a decade ago, because it's USB and it works. So I've had to go back to doing that. I got so used to be able to draw like this and turn it and everything, and now I have to go back to the screen, which, if you see me craning my neck right now, I don't have a monitor. I'm using my television, which is mounted to the wall, as my monitor for pretty much everything until I can get that sorted. But anyway, this is my very first time, as I was mentioning, streaming on YouTube. I never was able to do it before, not because I didn't want to or didn't have a desire to. It was mainly because I didn't have the capability to. And as you can see, even with the better capabilities I have now, it's still a learning process. And also, I still have some technical issues. And that's one of the things I like to talk about, too, with people when it comes to doing artwork, no matter what your art may be, or if you are not an artist, if you're just someone who enjoys watching people create things, with their hands, with pencil, digital art, cutting things, machinery, anything. There's all kinds of art in this world. Music, streaming games, acting like a silly fool on the internet, like I do on a regular basis. I tell you, this is it. But that's one of my things, is that I wanted to show people and to encourage people to get out there, to chase after your dreams, to chase after your creative passions, where you do it on a professional level or semi-professional level, where I am right now, or you do it just as a hobby. Because I know what it's like personally to put out your art, to put out things to the public, and you never know how people are going to take anything. You never really know how people are going to respond to your work. All you know that you can guarantee on, and I've said this many times before, I've said this with people I've met, other artists, I've said this recently on a video, is that, do you enjoy what you're doing? And if you do, and it's something you enjoy and you have passion for it, then keep doing it. Even if it's a hobby, even if you're not that great or whatever, all you gotta do is make sure you have the passion for what you love to do. That's what matters in the end, that you put it all together. Now, if you're trying to get better at what you do, and I don't care if you do it as a hobby or you do it as a professional level or whatever, you always should strive to better yourself. Strive to do more. Just like with art. Art is a lifelong process. It's a journey, and you get better with every single line you put down, every piece, every time, just as my cohorts lately have been trying to make me do, drawing in real time so everybody can see all my mistakes, which drives my anxiety crazy. So, but anyway, as I go, before I break down and start drawing, boring people really well, sitting here drawing this piece in real time, I want to also take the time for people who may not know me to let you see some of my work, or like what I was just talking about, like my previous progress about things. Now this right here, what you're seeing, and I'm going to double check because I'm paranoid. Yep, we're still good. We're still running in real time, folks. All right. So this is one of my older pieces that I've used for like my indie screens, and I make a lot of things by hand. I don't have to. I know there are softwares, there's AIs, there's all kinds of things out there that people, you can do stuff very quickly. Canva, for one thing, you can just pop something in and get something done, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as an artist, as someone who enjoys just creating, I want everything to have my own little touch on it. I want everything to have like my fingerprints. And it also challenges me to go out different of my comfort zones, you know. But anyway, this is an old piece. This was done maybe, goodness gracious, I can't remember, a few years ago. But as you can see, I was on a job and I didn't have access to a computer. I couldn't draw anything. I had a laptop at the time, and I wasn't able to, bring my laptop with me. But I could always have a piece of paper and a pencil. So I would draw everything by hand, and I love drawing things by hand. So this is how I would lay out. Normally, this is more rendered and more fine. There's a couple little cartoony elements and stuff, of course, because these are little cartoony characters. So it's a mixture. I have a semi-cartoony, realistic kind of style for what I've been told. But I'll show you the next spot here. And of course, as soon as I click that, I might as well just click on it. So as you can see, I've gotten more and more detailed about things, or realistic about stuff. And I'll show you guys my progress on that in just a minute. So this is my ink lines. These are ink lines that I would do in the computer because I love inking in the sorry, let me readjust disabilities and all. I love inking in the computer. Because I make mistakes. Also, I have problems with my hands per se. And so it allows me to fix that. It allows me not to ruin a piece. And it allows me to make changes and to make different choices if I want to, if I'm just doing a single piece. Now, if I'm working for a client or something, it's just going to get done instead of me playing around like, oh, I might do this. But I just wanted to take the time to kind of show you the process and stuff, especially since what I'm going to be drawing today is not near this process of being done completely with getting the lines down, getting the cleanup with the ink line, and then color and all that wonderful jazz. Because if you see the next thing here, this is flats. So even though this wasn't done, I hadn't inked all this stuff in, and as always, you bounce around sometimes. Like, I just wanted to go ahead and put the color down. I wanted to see what it was like. Also, sometimes I've noticed for myself, when I start putting color on some of my line work, as per se, I start noticing a little bit more of those mistakes I was making. Like, oh, I didn't draw this fully in. Oh, it's kind of dented in over here. Or, oh, I forgot that line was even there. I need to take that out. Or I need to, oh, I didn't draw that line. Or as you can see here, I started to thicken out his leg right here to make that pop out with a little bit more of a foreshortening type thing, which wasn't there originally because it was just one pass through, just building up and building up, like you would a pencil or whatever, but I'm doing it with digital ink. All right, so after I got all that done, then I started putting this characters and stuff, and I went through a whole different change to the colors on this character, creating this space field, drawing out this moon, because if you go back over here, I didn't have a moon. I knew probably there was going to be a planet, but I didn't know what that planet was going to be. I ended up going with an Earth-type planet because, well, that's pretty recognizable. And I wanted to challenge myself because you can see the lines where I drew in all of the continents type things, but then I used like a more paintery effect for the atmosphere because I could not seem to master that because I'm very line heavy. And if you're not aware, if you haven't seen any of my videos and stuff, one of my things that I have been told that I do and things that I have is that I'm very, I see the outline. I see the contour of things. And sometimes I see the lines in the cloth right here where I would draw all this in, where another artist who sees in things in tones and stuff wouldn't bother doing this, especially if they were painting. They would paint these shadows and stuff in. They wouldn't do all that. But my mind, I have to draw every single line I see even if it's not a line that's necessary. So that's been like my own journey trying to fight with that, but it has manipulated my style and stuff over the years, especially when I started gravitating more and more to digital. But like I said, this was how this piece came together, but we still don't have everything. There's some tones and stuff here. Like I said, this character wasn't done. I had taken all this time to do that, and then finally I ended up with this. And if you also know, it got cropped. There's a different size here. Like this was a little bit smaller. I realized when I was doing it that for somehow during my process, I ended up messing up the image size. So I had to go back and fix that, had to big it bigger, and then I added all the highlights. Because like I said, you got flats, which is your basic colors, and what I like to say is tones or shadows was what you have, which is what you're seeing through here per se. All these darker areas that you're trying to put out, and as you see that line right there, that ink line, that thicker line really made a difference when you started adding all that in. At least to me it does. And then highlights are like these little areas for like the lights for effects. Like there's some lighting effects on his hands. You know, there's a few things, and I even pushed this more because this piece this character didn't become he never stayed that way. He actually turned into a silver type coloring, and I redid him. But I thought I had the last one up here to showcase that. Let me go pull it up here in my all my tons and tons of files of stuff I have. All right, let's see. Coupon space, that's what we want to bring up, right? Right. Okay, open Photoshop. Okay, so again, here's the final. So even when I had done all this, there you can see this is what I see by the highlights. There's like a little reflection off the yellow from this little power, this little energy trails, and it's more pronounced right here. Those are kind of like just to add that more dimension, because as you guys can see, I do cell shading. That's what I'm comfortable with. I have, as you see right here with the clouds and stuff, been pushing myself through the years to get better at painting and trying to render that out. But I'm not that great at it yet, and I'm not always comfortable showing that. But I love cell shading. It's something that was a goal of mine as a child when I was playing Super Nintendo games and everything. I wanted to do cell shading. I wanted to make my stuff look like an animated cell. I wanted to make it look like the video games I was playing. You know, and I seem to have lost my chat window. Ah, there it is. Let's see if we can make sure that stays up in case somebody poppins by and wants to say something. And that's another thing I'm excited about doing this, is that this is finally the time that I'm able to start talking to people. Like, I have followers on my channel who I never get to speak to, I never get to talk to, I never get to know. You know, like, what do you guys like besides the occasional analytic or a little response and stuff? So it's great to be able to interact, because that's another thing I enjoy doing, building a community around other artists and trying to help them too, because I know what it's like to be unsung. So I like to showcase, like on my Facebook page, on my career page, different artists, and I will have other artists that will be coming over here, and we're going to be doing live streams or recordings, whatever it's capable at the time or able, and we're going to talk about this. And it's going to be, I got a puppeteer coming, I got an animator, all these different people that are going to be showing up, that so you can see different things besides just watching me sit here and draw. Unless it's something you really enjoy doing. Anyway, well, as soon as I click on Photoshop, it makes the chat window disappear. That's interesting. Like I said, I wish it was on my phone. I have my phone right here, and when I'm streaming on Twitch, I can see it in real time and I can catch it like that, but not on this. This is a little bit aggravating, especially if you don't have a secondary computer or someone else watching the chat for you. So if I do miss your chat, I will periodically try to change back, because I got a feeling once I start drawing on the actual piece, we're going to end up with this thing doing that, where I'm going to miss stuff, unfortunately, and that goes against what I'm trying to do. I also thought, especially with this, maybe at some point I would get maybe a Q&A, if you guys were interested in that, to talk about things that allow you, because again, I really do care what people think, or the people who follow me, the people who are my fans of my work or what I'm doing. I want to know how you feel about stuff. I want you to be like, I don't really care about watching Call of Duty videos, Legacy, which I kind of noticed. But you guys like watching No Man's Sky, so maybe no more Call of Duty videos on YouTube for a while. I don't know, but unless people tell me sometimes. I mean, I know there's people here like Nick9, vidIQ, and a lot of them that I worked with and that I have talked to. I have watched their content, especially Nick9, for years, watching what he does and trying to learn and on how to build to be a better video creator. I'm still a novice at that, I feel like. But, you know, it's kind of like you can look at footage and you can look at the analytics and you can tell a lot what people are enjoying, what they're watching through or not. But also, too, I know people who are literally watching something and then they'll pause because they're at work, or they are get interrupted, or their phone dies, or their computer dies, and then they don't go back, and then I don't know if it counts that or not. I don't know. I've had a friend one time watch something of mine for 30 seconds, and then he went back and watched it, and it only showed that he had watched for 30 seconds because it got interrupted. So how exact that is, I'm sure it's a lot more exact than I'm thinking it is, but I would prefer, instead of watching or reading data, to get to know the people who are behind that. You know, what do you enjoy? Like recently, I've been very thankful that I've had a lot of people making comments, and I've had some new subscribers, which is always awesome. I love the fact that people are enjoying what I'm doing, even on the small level that I am. But as you can tell, I ramble, so let me get back on some track and let's do some art. All right, so since you guys here on YouTube did not see the original starting of this, this is the sketch. I'm gonna get rid of the lines that I put in here for ink, and this was like a quick sketch I did. It was a lot more black, as you can see, because I was just sketching stuff out. So I knocked the opacity down, kind of like what you would do with pencil. You know, and I started, instead of rendering it out like I would normally, like render all the penciling and stuff out, I was challenged recently by my core card, Silent Joe here, that to tried to do it as what he's been doing. It's like, he goes, I just started sketching stuff out and then I'm just inking over it, and I'm drawing with the ink thing because I can do it digitally. So I've been trying to maybe do that, see how that flows to make me feel it like it's more organic, and try to get myself to loosen up a little bit. And this is just my own personal thing. But Wednesday night I had done all these cloths works and had just started on here, and this is what I had all these layers, and again you can see the video here on my channel, but I combined all those layers and put it as pass-through inks 1, so to give my mindset that, okay, this is my once over as I start building it up like I would a pencil or even digitally, you know, before I really start inking. And my last stream, unfortunately, Photoshop crashed. There was all kinds of problems, and I want to see, can we rotate? Because that happened. It stopped rotating on me, and I was literally talking about how my laptop back in the day couldn't handle that, and I couldn't rotate, I couldn't stream, I couldn't do anything, and then I had to be forced to use the pen tool all the time because I was forced to draw like this, straight on. I couldn't turn it. And it drove me crazy. So I learned how to use the pen tool as I showcase, and you'll see a little bit of that here in a bit, to do it that way, because I could not get it to work, and it took a lot, and it's very tedious. So hopefully the rotation will keep up with me tonight, because it eventually came back after I had to reload Photoshop. I don't know, sometimes. So this is the screenshot that I took the image from. I had originally erased all this out so I wouldn't have any other distractions, but when my Photoshop crashed Wednesday night, that night, I could not, I didn't want to take the time to erase all that. It just lost it all. So, but I did want to tell you what the screenshot was, and the idea behind this, especially if you guys have never seen No Man's Sky, never played the game, or know anything of it, that the one of the biggest thing is the atlas in the game, and it's behind it all, and you do go meet it at some point, and that's where this little geometric shape right here comes in. That's where one of the places where it's housed. So I wanted to go where the character, because I didn't put in the chair sketch, and if you see SK on the layers, that's sketch for me. So I put him in the cockpit because I wanted him to be like, when I saw this character standing, and I was just sketching that day, and I got videos rendering from game footage and stuff in the background, I sketched this out, and I'm like, I felt like he was saying something to me. And then I went on and on and on until I sketched this out, made it even bigger because I had a little character, then I made it even bigger. And then I was like, oh, wouldn't it be neat to have the Atlas, you know, it reflecting in its visor, and he's like maybe flying around or standing in front of it, and you know, like he's seeing it for the first time. And of course I went on and on about that, and then I just started laying all this out, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And then I decided again, I'm gonna do this in real time. After talking to my core hearts, I said, look, I'm gonna show as much as I can, even though it's going to drive me crazy, the step-by-step process of how long stuff takes me sometimes, or when I do stuff for myself, not for clients, but just getting it all together and try something different and be able to showcase that. And hopefully it's something that you guys will enjoy watching. And also hopefully it's something you guys will, you know, even you guys who don't watch videos and stuff or watch people draw, maybe it'll be interesting enough where you might learn something or appreciation for something. Who knows? Because everything I do is, I'm always trying to do something that's either hopefully entertaining, but also sometimes, I always try, like I said, positivity. You know, creating positivity through creativity, or spreading positivity through creativity, something like that. Brain. Yeah, that's the little slug line. But that's my whole point, you know, trying to give something else to hopefully be inspiring, entertaining, or helps you on your own artistic journey. You know, that, hey, I didn't know you could do a technique like that, or I wouldn't even thought about that. Why are you using a pen tool or this or that? Or someone else that doesn't draw like everyone else, or ink like everyone else, or you know, goes about a different way, trying to find different techniques for them to use. Because like I said, with my health issues and stuff that I have, I've had to force to adapt, and there's always a way of doing stuff. You know, you just got to adapt around it. But again, I'm rambling on. Let me get some water over here. I didn't have any coffee today, unfortunately, so I just never feel right without my coffee. So, well, I do believe, yep, as soon as I click on Photoshop, the chat disappears. Huh, that is going to be annoying. Well, hopefully, like I said, I'll be able to catch it. So, but we're just going to go ahead and get into this piece and put it together. Like I said, if you want to know more about the beginning of how I was doing things and why, you can kind of ask me in the chat if you want to, of course, or you can watch the parts of the video, skip through it if you want to, you know, go to the parts you want and see it there. And you know, because I went through over a lot of that too, but I did want to take a little time for people who may not be aware of what I was doing and why. Because like I said, I've never been the type of person that enjoys just watching someone draw something. Sometimes it's like, well, why did you make that choice? Why did you do that? You know, I want to know your thought process behind it, you know. And that's why I try to do the same when I'm like doing this stuff. I want people to, you know, well, this is why I'm drawing this, or this is where the idea came from, you know, to kind of give you more than just, oh, come watch me draw something. I just realized that I don't think I like those lines. But that's the pen tool right there, folks. So, like I said, this has been a mixture, and I'm pretty sure it's going to stay that way. A mixture of me doing stuff by hand and me doing stuff by the pen tool, especially because the helmet and the technology, the tech on him is very precise and mechanical. So I'm probably, like I said, that's my way of handling that, kind of like you would do with a ruler and whatnot. right now too, what I'm doing, I'm putting, I know you guys can't see it, just like you can't see the chat screen over here and everything, because I didn't want to distract you with a whole bunch of windows and screens. I'm taking that screenshot and using it as my reference still, so I can try and line that up. And right now I was looking at that little tube that comes out of the character here, little symbol in the front, the little glowing Iron Man China chest piece, chest piece type thing, and see if I was actually doing that right, and I wasn't. So that's why I was like, yeah, something don't seem familiar about that particular thing. All right. Oh, I accidentally hit something here. No, stop doing these things. All right, and I'm on a different layer as well. And let me just double check one more time, because as soon as I get started, that I'm not missing anyone in the chat. Nope, not yet. Okay. So I'm going to try to get this. Ooh, wow. I got it on the first go. What do you know? Oop, not for that one, though. Yeah, like I said, I've been using the pen tool and stuff for so long, it's become like a second hand for things, so I'm so used to doing it. Like you saw, naturally just went to doing it. And that's partly because of this, of me having issues with my hand sometimes. But I do know that because it is so mechanical, and it's very, more precise as you can get with a rasterized program as is Photoshop versus Illustrator per se, which is a vector. But I've been trying to force myself more and more to get out of these habits, to grow as an artist by forcing myself to use my hand more and more for things, even things I'm not comfortable with. Because I'll be honestly, folks, showing my work like this really freaks me out sometimes. Because, you as artists, first off, as I stated before, art is a personal journey. It's something that most artists are not comfortable showing their work. They're afraid that it's not going to be good enough. Because let's face it, every artist, every artist I've ever met, even people who are established, well established, they have succeeded at what we would call making a living, doing their work and everything, they still question all the time, are they good enough? Doesn't matter what level you are. There's that question that, am I good enough for this? Am I good enough to do this? Is it going to resonate? And that's just part of being an artist in general. That we want to, it's not just like, oh, am I good enough to make money? Am I good enough for people to matter? Am I going to have tons of followers? It's this enable of the journey inside of you that you just want to show your work. You want it to be awe-inspiring sometimes. You want people to enjoy what you work, not just for your own personal accolades, but sometimes just because, if you ever want to take the time to look at something you do, then you want to make it worth their time, if that makes sense. See, I could do it that way. See, I could hear that little. See, and it's a little off right here, because this is very. Well, I'm looking at the reference. It's very round. It's like this comes out and it loops over. So I'm trying to. Let me zoom out and look at that. Yeah, it goes at this weird angle. This is a tube that's going inside the chest piece there, and it's connected around that spear. And it's like it goes straight here, and then it comes out a little bit, and then we curve down, but then I'm curving in too much. So, that's why I said maybe sometimes working with the pen tool on some of this I may not have a choice just to get those angles that I want to get. I don't like that either. Alright. I was almost afraid to try to use the rotation after all the problems I had last time. There we go. Alright, now I'm all rates all that wonderful extra line work out that I don't need. So I can line that up. Put out that little bit there. And if I remember, yeah, so we got the tube that goes here. No. I'm gonna go down just a bit. Yeah. So, and there's a highlight on this tube, and normally I would want to draw that in, you know, but to tell you the truth, that's unnecessary. Again, that's my mind trying to draw every line I see, you know, when it should have just been, hey, you know, that's for coloring. That's not for drawing. But it depends sometimes too, because like if I was drawing this for, say, another artist to ink over per se, then I would have to draw certain things. And I come from a background between comics and animation, so my mind is all over the place sometimes, so it's been a mixture of things and a little bit of anime through the years. Yeah, okay. And why I stopped here, double check the chat. So that's coming out okay. Now we want to, I gotta get this nice little chest plate part in the middle. Showcase that. Huh. So that line, that spear that circles around this chest plate is right somewhere in here. And then you see the enclosing over the tech from the chest piece itself, where you have that tech here, and then you have some glowing effects and stuff right inside. So I'm seeing that, and then it kind of disappears, and even more so where it gets cut off from where I place the character and everything. So I'm trying to make sure I have that, and there's this little indentation in the material right in here that I got put in that you barely see because of the placement I chose to put this together. Let's also get rid of that chair. Those lines are distracting me. So I want to get in here and see if I can match that up. And again, when I get done here in a little bit, when I do a little bit more of it, I will show you guys what I mean, because again, I know you guys can't see what I'm talking about and per se, but and then I can let y'all kind of see and let you compare and see if how close I got to it. You know, did I get it right? Did I not get it right? It's like it curves like this, so it's like this nice little curve there, but it's like straighter. Huh. So let's see. Let's get this. Like I said, this is just like almost like a tiny little rectangle, so I can do it like this, and then I won't have to worry about trying to line up. Nope, I don't want that. My bad. There's sections, because it's like I said, it's a mixture. It's like some very precise angles and stuff in this, and I want to make sure it's as close as it can be. And of course, it's not going to be 100%, because nothing ever is. I mean, unless you literally spend days and days and hours or just trace over the bloody thing. That's one way to do one-to-one. But oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So what I'm doing is I see that the line is pretty close, you know, just pretty much what I made with the pen tool, the path as it were. And I made another layer because I'm going to take that one little thing, move it over a little bit, because I see now that I zoomed out and taken the whole picture in of everything, that I'm gonna move it over here, and I'm gonna rotate it just a bit and see how that looks. And this is one of the things I do love about digital, especially when you're first putting together pieces and whatnot. You know, you can kind of, you know, go back and manipulate the piece. And I've said this in my last videos and probably some of my other ones. That really doesn't bother me doing that because it's a tool. But it's also my asset. You know, I created this shape per se, or I drew this. So I don't really feel bad about doing stuff like this because, one, especially when you're on a deadline, you do what you gotta do. But I drew this myself. I created this, so I'm not copying this off someone else's work, which I have seen some artists do, and that drives me crazy. You know, I know you can do it. I know people do it. I know some people don't care. I personally am not a fan of that. I would rather do it myself, and I think that's more honest. And also, it kind of goes with how you draw, because, you know, so I mean, if you're learning something from someone, if you're trying to emulate, or if you're doing a realistic, like hyper realistic pose, like you want them to do, yeah, I want it to look like this exactly, or you're doing a study, or as a lot of young people I know, kids back in the day when some of my cohorts are artists, they used to trace over comic books. You know, they would get some paper and trace over it and stuff and try to emulate what they saw. That way to learn how to do this muscle, learn how to do this pose, to learn how to do that style. But the bad part about that is if you do that, it does teaches you things. You also teach yourself bad habits. You teach yourself the artist's bad habit, because that artist knows how to hide their work. They know how to do things. And I've done this stuff in the past where I have looked at like Humberto Ramos, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane. See, how many comic book artists can I name? Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Fernando Ruz. I mean, it goes on and on. One of my other favorites, Art Adams, and I've tried to draw what I see and do what they do. And then I noticed, wow, they do this because it's a natural thing for them, but it's not natural for me. So you can emulate stuff or be like an animator and draw any style that you can come across just about. But you need to do stuff also for yourself. That's why I always say use reference, use real life, go out there and draw the world around you. It just makes you a better artist. Don't just draw other artists' stuff or their style, because that's not yours. You know, develop yourself. But if you're happy doing that, follow your own path. I mean, if anyone agrees with it or not, do it agree. Just don't go ripping people off and calling your own work. I've seen that a few times in my life. Like, yeah, I drew this. I made this. This is mine. No. This is not yours. Oh. That's a whole different scenario than drawing fan art per se. And if y'all are ever curious of my thoughts on fan art in general, I'll be happy to let y'all know about that sometime. Or I'll probably end up rambling about it more than likely. Anyway. Let's see. But it is, like I said, today it is exciting to be able to be on YouTube, on my channel, for the first time, even if not everybody's able to catch it. And also that one person who I do not know said that they wanted to see me stream in real time. It's probably like, oh wow, he's actually doing it? Of course I am. You requested it. If I get enough people to request, that's why I was trying to tell people, yes, I want to hear from you. If you want to see me take the time to draw something or do something here, yeah, I'll do it. If I get enough responses for certain things, I will be happy to do certain things, because that's what you're here for, right? You're following me on this to do that. Oh, I put that on the I put that on that white background because I had changed it. Let's get back on the layer that we're supposed to be chatting. And let's get back to the ink size that we're supposed to be on too. Brush size, ink size. Man, I have been, yeah, I'm all over the place. So there's this triangle here that wraps around, and then there's another triangle that kind of makes the shape. And now I am going to take the time to show you guys this, because I think you guys should be able to see it. I just hate to have to keep flipping back and forth. So as you guys can see here on this, and it's still a little pixelated here, especially when you zoom in, even though this is a high definition screenshot. You see how you got that, and then you got another layer in here, and it's pretty exact. It's pretty close, and that was that little part I was telling you guys about. Let me zoom in that I was just doing. So now here's what I can do. Now in the sketch you see, I sketched it out, I put some shading to let myself know there's shading there. So I'm gonna go back to this layer, and we're going to do the same thing again. And I know some people may be aware of this, and some people may not be. That's another reason why I'm showing how I work, how I solve problems, how I try to do things at times. Okay, so this is going to be on its own layer. So we're going to stroke that again. And the reason why is because instead of just moving it, we're going to duplicate only that triangle per se, and then I'm going to Control T, which is transform, and I'm going to hold down the Alt button, which will keep it in the same kind of shape, and then I'm going to bring it down here. So that was pretty close, right? So now I'm going to switch to V, which is move, and I'm going to move this around a little bit until it lines up enough where I want it. And that right there is the line that we want. And go back and zoom in so you guys can see that. And I always say this too, if you have ever taken any art class or had an art teacher or watched a video or whatever, one thing is always good to, as you are working, is to zoom out if you're on a screen like this and take a moment to look at your piece, or walk away from it if it's on a canvas or whatever, or sitting down here on paper. Take a moment and take it all in, because you can miss things even when you're sitting here drawing like this. You're not seeing with a pencil, you will miss things sometimes. So it's good to stop for a moment, take it in, and let the piece just talk to you. See if it's all forming together. Now normally I would be going a lot faster than this, but I'm trying to make sure I take the time to showcase things and stuff. But as you guys can see, this has turned out okay. So let's go back and look at this triangle. Now that's pretty close. I mean, and it solved my problem. I didn't have to redraw that triangle again. I didn't have to sit there all this time to make sure it lines up correctly. So that's one of the little tricks that you can use, you know, to save yourself time with your work, to save yourself from having to redraw anything. But if you prefer to draw every single line, I used to be that guy, keep doing it. If that's what you like to do, there's nothing wrong with that. I just know I have, I'm slow enough as it is sometimes. I don't need to be taking too much time. But, it's like a lot of teachers and stuff I've had through the years, a lot of artists that I have been blessed with to get to know, to work with. There's all kinds of things that we do. And you're hearing me say the word asset a lot. Explaining assets, and that really becomes from the fact when I was in school, the second time I went to school for animation at the Art Institute of Atlanta. May it forever. That's great teachers, but you can burn. Anyway, we were doing 3D stuff. Or I never got to the point where I was actually doing the 3D part. You're talking about assets and reusing the same assets. And you see it in games a lot. Like, man, they used that box asset a lot, didn't they? They just popped some other color and stuff on it. And sometimes it's really noticeable. Sometimes you really don't notice how many times things have been used. If they tried to do every single thing, and like I have a good buddy who does 3D, he does 2D stuff and he's amazing. But I got that mentality that, hey, these are my assets. These are things that I can reuse and I can show again and again. I can manipulate. I can do it because it's something I created. It's like the same kind of mentality, but in a 2D kind of format. So I know I literally just did that spear there with the pin tool. I don't know if I'm going to use that. We're gonna first off, we're gonna merge this stuff down. I want to get that kind of together. And again, this is still kind of a pass through. I may change this. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna see things that I'm not gonna like about it. I'm gonna manipulate it. I'm like, this is already kind of worrying me on how this looks. But then I also know that I haven't added some color yet. I don't have it all together. And that's okay, because it's a building. It's a building process. Sometimes even when you put your sketch down and you're super sketchy on all your stuff, or like I'm very tight on some things, it's going to change. What you see underneath, as long as it's whatever you're trying to achieve, that is feasible, that is, when someone doesn't look, they don't look at it and they lose their sense of disbelief. And it works, you know, and it's atomically correct, or cloth is correct, or structure, whatever it is. And sometimes even it's not. I know artists that don't do a lot of things correct and get away with it. You know, that's a personal, subjective thing. But you use what you have, you put it together, and you just keep building on it, because that is the process, especially if you're slow about things. One of my other favorite artists is the guy who created Rocketeer. He was amazing. He was a perfectionist. He was very, very slow. So, you know, I understand that sometimes. Oh, still had the pin on. Yeah, see, this came out like a decent spear, but let's go back and look at the actual spear. So you see how much rounder it is? Now it does disappear, it fades out because we're going to lose it over here. So I gotta line this better up correctly. Now what I probably will do, since we have that one, okay, so give you an idea what I'm seeing. See if you see the same thing I see. Here's a circle, right here, or spear circle. Here is another circle, right here. It goes all the way around. Here is a circle. There, another circle, another smaller circle that goes inside, and then another circle right here, and it goes on and on and so on. So we got what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a circle right there. 11. So 11 circles that I see. This is how my mind works. So my solution is, okay, I don't see all these circles when I'm looking at the reference. Not all these circles exist. You know, they're still there. So I can do what we would say, draw through the figure, as it were, or draw through it, and you put the whole shape there, and you just erase out or manipulate what you need. So that's maybe how I can approach this, instead of trying to line this up over and over and over again. Kind of the same mentality I did over here with the triangle. So I might go ahead and do that, and that way I can have the same circle, and then I'll just make it a little smaller, and put it together. But when you get up to this point, this is a whole different circle. It could be. So I may have to create another thing and go over it. But I kind of feel like that's going to be the best way to go. Again, with the mechanicalness with the tech, now I could leave this. I could totally leave this whole layer here and not worry about it. You know, not per se, if that didn't bother me. But that's the type of artist I am. That kind of stuff bothers me. So I'm going to use my tools and not make a square. You can't put a square in a circle. And see if we can just get that done. Alright. Oh, of course it disappeared. No pixels were selected. You lie! You lied to me, Adobe! and now it's trying to get me to go look at their thing for some reason. That's not what I needed. Thank you. It's partly because it's going off the canvas, so it's kind of freaking out because of that. Alright. Let's see if we can get it to stop freaking out for a minute. Ah! I don't like you either. Alright. Wow. It is really doesn't like me. It's so weird. Wow. Alright. See all these... Okay. New layer. Now we're on the white background. See, that's why I took the time to look over. It's like, what are you doing? I'm not even making that. Alright. I maybe zoomed in too close for it. Wow. Just trying to use the marquee thing. Alright, so let's get out the marquee. Let's just use the Eclipse tool itself and see if we can stop it from doing this. No, I didn't want to select that color. Goodness gracious. Why are you being this way? Okay, so we have one... this is annoying. Yes, just go ahead and make it. Alright. We're gonna see if we can just get this to work. Or start up here. I may have to use the pen tool, chat. Man, it is really not wanting to... What is going on? So it's made more eclipses. Alright, let's see if we can get off that. So I have eclipses for the circle part right here for the Atlas's little station type thing. But it's not letting me manipulate that at all. So I'm going to delete those. That's why I was trying to just use the marquee tool to be able to just stroke that like you would with the pen tool. But it doesn't want to work. So I say, let's just go ahead and stroke it. Oh, wow. One, yeah, we don't want it one. That'd be way too small. Let's say 15. Oh, wait, put it on the pass-through inks. No, that's not what we want either. That's not what we want either, is it, chat? Alright, put it back on that layer. We're going to want it to be on its own layer. Not doing crazy things. Alright, so... excuse me. So now I got this big oval instead of what I wanted. It's like, I'll show you. Alright. So again, this is also part of the journey, especially working in digital or doing anything. You have these problems. This is why some artists prefer working by hand. You know, there are times, even though I work digitally a lot, like I said, when it comes to inking and stuff, I get aggravated with this stuff too. This stuff drives me crazy. And this is also another reason why I wanted to be able to do some of this in real time, so you guys can see that you're not the only one that's having problems. You're not the only one that's going through this. It's like, why are you acting like this? Like right now, it does not want to transform for some reason. I don't know why it's acting like this, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make you work somehow. Wow, that is crazy. It's like it's determined not to... It'll let me move it, but it won't let me manipulate it. It won't let me change it. It's not locked. We know that. It's on its own layer, so we're not worried about that. So let's see if anybody in the chat might be able to tell me what's going on, if they caught something I missed. Nope. Well, let's see. Man, it's not even like letting me move it either. Huh. Okay, go back to move. I can make another one. Yeah, that's nice. That's what I wanted to do. So if I click it on that, let's see if it'll do it with selection. Nope. Okay, path selection won't work because it's not a path for some reason. It's not letting me click on that either. Wow, this is really being a butt. See, it'll select it when I go to the move, but it won't do anything with it. Interesting. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to see what's going on with that later. It's not wanting to work. Well, instead, we're going to move on to something else. Because I'm not going to sit here and make y'all watch me do that like 10 or 20,000 times. But the same process. Goodness gracious. I'm not sure why it's doing this tonight. Alright, let's take a look. I had started these belt buckles. And again, we got the same thing. So we got some pinches here where it looks like the clasp is pinching into what I can only assume is maybe leather. And it's pinching in right through here. And it goes around, and again we got shapes and stuff, which our shape tool is not wanting to work, so we may have to just render this with the old pen tool by hand for a while. So I got another shape here. I got another, and this is the same shape around here, and of course this was done in 3D, so it's really precise. And that's another thing to keep in mind when you guys, if you're ever drawing and you're doing 3D stuff, and using like what I'm doing right now, using a 3D screen, that sometimes the medias don't always translate well. So let's start out again on its own layer. And let's see if we can just rotate this so we'll be straighter on. So I won't be at an angle when I do this and really mess myself up. And I'm going to see, based upon my sketch, which is going to need some adjustment, obviously, because it's off. We're going to line this up the best we can. Okay, so this line is definitely longer and at a different angle than this line. But again, we rotated it, so do we see that in reality? So this line goes through here, goes through there, and it looks like, for the most part, it's all the same shape, the same dimension. It doesn't look like it might change, because you got to think of foreshortening too, where this will bleed off in perspective. So I'm feeling like this is pretty close, but this one seems shorter a tad bit than this one because of the angle. So I'm gonna go back to my little path here, and we're going to look at it and see if we can make some adjustments. And since I closed the path, it's going to have a hard time letting me move it. So what I'm going to have to do is put another anchor point there so I can start manipulating it again, because when it's closed it doesn't want to do anything, because you've already closed the path. But this will allow you, then you can delete that little anchor point there to get you where you want it to be. I still feel like this is not 100%, so I'm gonna hold control down while I'm on that anchor point. And sometimes you don't have to do what I just did, because sometimes the pen tool is a little bit picky. So now that I'm at the correct angle, I feel like this is gonna be better for what I am trying to achieve. And again, I started out flat, you know, straight on, so I can get the shape kind of right. Now I can adjust it where I can get the rest of it kind of where I would think, based upon my reference, my own knowledge set or whatever, where like, hey, this is probably how this is going to look. But again, we're going to have to go through a step-by-step process. If you're trying to make something mechanical like this, where you want it to be exact, and that's been my goal with this piece, because from what I see, it is. I mean, these are like the same spacing on lines, it's the same cut. It's, you know, it's kind of hard sometimes to do that freehand. So I'm gonna go back and forth and look here. So we got this. Now again, we do have that cut that goes in for that little buckle, that clasp. So I'm gonna have to put that in. And then am I lined up on that? Or well, it looks like I may even need to turn it just a titch. too. Like I may be a little bit off. Oop, see now I accidentally resized it. And I didn't want to do that. Alright, so I'm gonna hit enter. Because I'm not sure if it resized it or not. And I'm gonna go ahead and make that a selection like, hey, yes, I wanted you to do that. Now I'm gonna hit Control Z, and obviously I did resize it really bad. So that way I can just get it back on track. Alright, and we're gonna nudge that over a little bit. Whoa! Hey, why are you doing that for? I didn't tell you to do that, you crazy thing, you. Alright. And again, if you notice, the sketch is not completely right. It's got issues. Now, I could do, instead of doing it this way too, to give you some other things. If you see here, see how there's these little indication lines that were this level of putting this together would be? So I can do the same thing as I did with the triangle. I can make it bigger, make it bigger, make it bigger, put it together. Or, as some artists would do, instead, they would go over here and just indicate where the line is. They wouldn't even bother doing what I'm doing. Because to them, their artistic choices, it would be, hey, that's unnecessary. You don't have to do all that. You know, you just need to do this to show that there is a shape here. And this does feel a little bit more natural. But, as you guys can see, it kind of can get all over the place. You know, again, these are personal preferences. These are personal choices that artists make on how they prefer to produce their work, how they prefer to do it. And like I said, I like doing things really precise sometimes. So that's why I do it that way. So don't think that if you're sitting here watching it going, well, I don't like the way that he's doing that, I wouldn't do it that way, then don't. Do what works for you. Do what makes feel natural to you. Just always make sure you're using reference when you do it. Reference is one of the most important things to have, is to have something to actually, because we all draw no matter how far we get in our minds. And you've seen that occasionally, I'm sure, with artists or certain pieces where something just like a foot looks off or something, like, wow, that looks weird. It's a stylized thing, or it's a thing that we think we know how to draw something. We think we know what something looks like, but in reality, we really don't. So without having some kind of reference to use, saying that this is what this is in reality, you know, it's kind of hard. Now, you can manipulate that kind of stuff. You know, when you have like a reference to go off of, you can play with that all day. You know, you don't have to worry about, is it, you know, you can adjust it to what you need and stuff, if that makes any sense. So, since I stopped again, I'm going to just check the chat one more time. All right. Let's see. All right. So I made a copy of that. Control T. We'll make that a little bit bigger. And see, we got our buckle. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to erase some of that out. That might be close. Or, since I worked so hard on that thing, come on, change for me. Change to B. And you know, I know another thing I was telling people in my last stream is like, make sure you learn your shortcuts, and sometimes they don't work. It definitely helps you, you know, when you're trying to put stuff together and stuff to speed up your process. So I made that there. All right. Let's go back to our reference. So there is a very thick line here where it's coming out of the chest piece, the leather part or whatever that material is. And there's a really, really thin line, and then we got another one and stuff. So again, this is going to be some manipulation. It's not going to stay exactly like that, because if you look at this, is there a line that can completely, it almost goes back into space. So I'll end up drawing some of this stuff out. But right now what I want to do for myself is to just get it where I feel like where the lines would be, where I feel like that it will line up correctly. You know, and right now I'm just playing around with that to see if I was still off, which sometimes I feel like I am. I know. I'm happy for you. Thank you. So we're going to make another copy of that, and then what I'll probably end up doing is adjusting it where I can you know, erase the parts that I want to, because, you know, your eraser isn't just for erasing your crappy mistakes. It's also it's a tool. It's a drawing tool. Especially, let's say, if you were doing like charcoal or something per se, you can use your eraser to draw all that stuff in, you know, to erase that, you know, to draw with it, to make this. I had a skull piece where I was using a kneaded eraser to kind of put that together. Maybe I'll showcase that sometime. All right. So that looks pretty close to what I'm trying to achieve for the most part. So we're going to double check that one more time. Yeah, I still feel like that's going to go up another length because there's this tiny little line. You can barely see it, like right through here, that makes it come out more. Just that, but that also could just be color, tones. You could do the same thing with that instead of having to draw that line in. And that may be the smartest thing to do right now, instead of me trying to keep adding to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put merge that down, and we're gonna look at this and see if I do need to make any adjustments. I feel like I do a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this just a titch, because that's what I was noticing earlier. And we're going to move this down. Click on that. Control Z. Not Control Z. Control 0 to zoom out completely. Alright. And now let's fix our canvas. We're going to go up here to Reset View. And there you go. So now I can kind of look at that and judge, you know, how much more do I need to do? Of course, it's going to be a little bit different. You know, some of me feels like it's the belt buckle, or buckle as it were, right there is maybe a little too big. Let's see. No, not with this indentation part thing there, it may not be. But we still gotta do that little part in the middle too, so there's going to be a lot of little adjustments. But I think what I want to do right now is start with the collapse. Let's see if we can get that collapse down. And because this is pretty long right here, and it comes out. So, and sometimes what I like to do too is I draw, kind of get the rhythm of where something is. You know, I try to put it down so I can teach my hand to kind of do, okay, this is kind of what it feels like. And then I go back to, oops, that's not what I meant. My cute little critter there. Take that out. So I can still see what I'm doing. Just to teach my hand, you know, it's almost like a quick muscle memory, almost in a sense, just to get my arm used to that flow. Especially when it's acting up, and figure out, you know, just to kind of get that down, to kind of teach myself, hey, this is kind of how it's going to go, you know. And right now it's all messed up, but I'm just trying to lay this out, you know, sketching with the ink in a sense. So if that makes any sense, it's almost the same. That is definitely wider, which I thought it was. So that's going to cover up most of that. And what I'm referring to is like, so you got this strap part here, just a little tiny area that goes into part of that buckle. That's why I said we probably wouldn't see all of this, because we're actually going to end up covering that up. So, but we don't want to go, it doesn't seem to line up quickly, completely with the middle part. Like it doesn't line up with that line. where that part of the metal part is. So it actually goes into here and right here, and so I'll have to make this wider. So let's go ahead and just kind of delete that, go up here and see if we can do that. I'm gonna go back to rotating the camera. We're gonna make it straighter again, and we're gonna get this, see if we can get it lined up. So we know right here, and we're gonna go kind of straighten this out a little bit. And I'm gonna cover that up. I'm gonna go here. And that's gonna be a little off, I can already tell, so I'm gonna straighten that out. Okay. Now we're gonna stroke that. Hit enter, get rid of that. I got that one nice little square bar there. Alright, now we got that pinch that comes out here, where it actually claps. Yes, I would like you to, no, I don't want you to close. I would like you to save like I told you to do just a second ago. Like, oh no, I'm gonna close. Did you want me to close? No, not really. Okay. So that goes pretty high up, but not that much. Like, it's like pinched right here. So actually, this little square I made actually goes up too far. So we're gonna move that down. Oh, come on. You can move faster than that. Alright. That's because it's rotated, so it's like freaking out that I'm doing this way. Okay. So we're gonna end up erasing those lines out. Okay, we got it. I did it. Thank you. Quit putting yourself on the background, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Alright, now, so I'm going to take this part and we're going to go up and not do what I just did. Out. Oh, I hit shift. Oh, that makes sense. No, stop. Being difficult. Alright, so we'll go up here. We'll go up here. Come down. And we're just going to lay this out real quick. So here's another thing I can do to kind of help myself to see if I'm lined up, which I normally could do, but I forgot it rotates. You could take a guide to try to see that, but obviously I'm rotated. So, and it may be at a weird angle anyway. I'm trying to see if these would line up or not. They seem pretty close, but I also, again, I want to go down just a titch. I want to pull this out just a little bit because that seems a little bit longer. But now I'm not lined up. Alright. Move that over just a little bit. This over. And we're going to make that, double check our reference. So we got a line that literally goes through underneath, so it's not this little clip. So I'm going to have to make a whole complete shape. Now I could easily probably have done the rectangle thing, but since we're having issues with the tools, and even so, sometimes it's better just to do it this way anyway. Ah, I see something. So that line is slightly at an angle, so I want to fix that if I can. But again, if you don't make another anchor point, you move the whole thing. You know, especially when you close the path. So you gotta go in here and tell it, hey, it's okay, I'm just moving stuff over. Don't freak out. You'll be alright. Walk it off, Demos. Alright, and see it snapped into place like that. So it's like, oh, okay, you know, I see what you're trying to attempt with your life. Alright, so now I'm gonna stroke this path. And I probably should more likely be using different line widths for some of this because it's all kind of in the same. So I might be making a mistake on that. But really too, I'm just trying to quickly show you guys like how you can put things together sometimes and different techniques. So again, it's not something I always recommend the pen tool for people to use, but it is a useful tool sometimes. Alright. Let's do stroke the path. And I still don't like the fact that it's kind of off there. I don't like it. Look at that. See? But it's almost naturally though bending, because we are going to have that bend there. So it's going to snap into place. So I'm going to move this down a little bit more, because I do believe it's too far up. I may have to resize it. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're doing your pieces in general, when you're also using reference for things. You're just trying to play with it enough to see if you can get it all to line up the way you want it to, you know, to be, you know, close to this reference as possible. Like I said, this is a very small rectangle right here. So I think my rectangle may actually, as you guys can see, is too big. So, but to get the shape down in my head, I'm gonna have to, you know, I had to do it that way. And that's just how I work, you know. Let's make it smaller. I want it wide, but I want it smaller. So here we go. Now we got this problem. So now I'm gonna have to, since it's not gonna let me adjust it the way I want to adjust it, now I have to start doing some edit transformation stuff. So, let's try. Oh, they put it on the white background again. Why are you doing that? Keep switching because I'm accidentally, when I move things, it likes to. It's annoying that it does that. So, but that's all part of it. Okay. Make sure we're on the right thing. So right now I'm skewing it, and just to see what kind of effect I will get with that. You know, it changes as you guys can see the line width, how thick and stuff it is. So again, I may just be wasting my time doing it that way. So I may just be like, nah, this is not gonna look right. I'm gonna probably have to just do it again by hand or draw through it and realize what I did. So when I pull it out, and then I move stuff too. Ah! Alright, so let's see if we can just get it to be a little smaller. Would be nice. Make it really small. Ah, no, I don't want perspective. I don't know why I chose perspective. Yeah, it is not working out the way I would like. So, we're going to say the hell with this. And we're going to go back to this kind of shape here. That's kind of the right size that I'm looking for. But, again, I screwed up and made it too big. So, we're going to go use that as a guide. We knew it was a pretty long little piece. I was hoping one of the little manipulation tools would allow me to get away with it, but it's like, nope, not gonna happen, Legacy. Alright, so I'm actually cutting through there. That's good. So I'm gonna move this over just a bit. Okay. Nice. Now we can move that because it's a little too close. It'll stop being difficult with me. Hey, don't disappear. No, no, I don't need you to disappear. Oh, wow. And of course, it's still selecting that bloody white background. Alright, so we're going to get rid of layer 3. No, I don't want to stroke it. Do the effects. And we're going to hit P. And we're going to manipulate it that way. Control 0. Okay. So we're getting a little closer to what I'm trying to achieve. Go back and look at my reference. And normally I would have my reference over here to the right. Where I could see it in real time, but because you guys, I want to kind of show why I'm doing certain things. That's why I'm not. So, line there. So that's closer to what I wanted. Oh, it selected both layers. Awesome. No, now he wants to move my goodness. Yeah. Decide that both of those are together, which they're not yet, but oh well. We'll just go with that. See, that goes to the top of that, so I want to go up. Actually, no. So I'm going to erase this out because we don't need those extra lines. And I'm going to erase this out. Get rid of that. Okay, and let's readjust. Reset view. Yep, see, it moved my white background. Knew it was doing something back there. Stop messing with things. Okay, so that gives you kind of an idea. Let's go back and look at the reference again. I know it's a lot back and forth. Go into reference, out of reference, back and forth with the reference. So we got a line, we got that top and everything. So from here, it looks like that top square is still needs to come over. That rectangle needs to come over just a little bit, but since it likes to put it together, wow. Oh, I must have drew it together. That's my bad. That's why it's doing that. They're like, yeah, you ain't pay attention to that, Legacy. You just thought you knew what you were doing. Did I ever say I knew what I was doing? When did that become a thing? Oh. Alright. Let's just go ahead, and this is going to be fun since I got it on the same layer. See? And like I said, I know a lot of this is very tedious. You know, to a degree, I don't blame people who say it is. But again, this is how I work. You know, not always how I work. This is not always how I do stuff. This is just how I develop different stuff on how to handle problems for myself. You know, I always try to do something a little different. But like I said, this was going to be a challenge trying to put this together and to see if I could line it up, if I could get it done, you know, without having to do certain things. So now we got that little area right there. I still feel like it's not exactly like it should be over here a little bit more, but I'm gonna go with it for now. So we're gonna see how that rolls. And I love how they just keep selecting the white background. See, if I turned it off, it really would be hard to see. So it's like, yeah. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just get rid of the white. You know, like I said, you mess with the layers, you put it all together, you just keep going. All right. So we'll see how close we are here. 3. Okay. Line. They got a couple of little sketchy lines. I'm gonna pull this out because there's so many things for me to look at. So I gotta be able to see this for a little while. But again, this at least gives you guys an idea of how I do things. I said, well, he's like, how many times are you gonna say how you do things? I don't know. What do you think, chat? Come on, thing. Zoom over. I must see. Okay. Yeah, because I really need to be seeing what I'm doing in the same time here. Alright. We're going to be here all day watching me do this crap. If you also notice too, so because of the pen tool, you see how this is not as clean as these lines are from the shapes and stuff. And sometimes that happens. So that's another thing I was noticing when I did this stuff, like when I heavily was relying on the pen tool. It gets a little blurry sometimes, depending on what brush size you're using or how you do it. So again, I will probably have to go over this again and try to clean it up, because it's not going to be exactly what I want it to be. Because you see how this is not cleaner, and it's sometimes not noticeable, but if you, like, let's say that's the let's zoom in right here. It's not noticeable as much as there, but I can see it a little bit. So if you print this out the way it is right now, it's gonna blur and stuff. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're trying to do things like this craziness, the beads of a south with the pen tool. Sometimes it doesn't always render well. I mean, there are some definitely cons to using it some days. But real quickly, let's just, because we're getting close to time here, and I knew I was going to be talking and showing things probably too much than actually doing stuff. Alright, Mohoch. Now, here's another way you can make a really straight line. Hold shift while you do it, and it will do that. So we kind of got that right there. Right? Of course, I like moving stuff. Alright, so I got that line the way I wanted it. Maybe if it would let me unselect it would be nice. I don't like the new selecting thing that Photoshop has put in recently. I was using 2021, and I'm glad that I can select certain things and stuff, but it always wants to select everything. Okay, so I'm at 25 like a fool on my brush size. I'm wondering why I can't thin that out. Ah! Oh, and I'm on the white background to boot. Because it keeps wanting to select the white background. Welcome to working digitally. Yeah, see, there's the actual row right here. You see how when I was drawing that in, so I would have to go back and have that flowed correctly. So I see this. Whoops. Some nice lines there. I'm kind of adding a couple more than are actually there because I just feel like I need a little bit more indication. And that's a little bit of artistic license, you know. Sometimes you can do that. Okay. Control 0. Reset view. All right. I'm going to double check the chat to see if I've missed anybody. You're a good man. I did miss somebody. Well, hello, Kojima. Yeah, I'm crazy. You know, so this is, I have missed him. This is my my good cohort, Kojima Powered. Make sure you check out his stuff. Definitely, he is an amazing artist, and even he says I'm crazy when it comes to this stuff. But anyway, so let's see, basically breaking it down, because I don't want to take up you guys' whole day with this. And I will be doing more of this and stuff over time. But I just wanted to go in a little bit more in depth on how I kind of put things together and how I do it. And again, so you see the difference with the organicness here, like with those lines and stuff, and it does kind of, to me, look like I'm actually bending things. You know, there's a pinch where that is, as we kind of see. Let's go back to putting it in here for you guys. And I promise, as things go on, I will get better at speed and everything and figuring this out, of trying to show you guys what I'm trying to say and show you. And then a couple of these streams I probably plan to just sitting here drawing and talking and hopefully answering your questions and stuff. But again, you see this little patch here, you know, it's little lines and stuff, and it's all there when you zoom out, so you don't have to, you know, it's barely noticeable, but it's there. So on mine, it's still barely noticeable, but it's there. So let's get rid of the sketch in the background and see how that looks without it, so we can just see the lines themselves. And you kind of see kind of how it's coming together. You see how very clean everything is? Let's get rid of the atlas so he doesn't look like he's a floaty atlas head too in the background there. That might help. But just focusing on that, and there's different degrees of line size here too. Like I said, different brush sizes will give you different effects and stuff. And again, this is still going to be one of those, because it's so mechanical for me, that I'm going to have to keep adding and adding, and I'm going to go through here and thicken out these lines, because this one's a little bit nice. You don't have to do that. Like, I can make it pop like that and try to make it more pronounced. So let's go back to let me find a good example of that real quick. Different sizes of things. Give me 1 second, chat. Okay, so this is one that I've got to redo. This is Inks 2 Final. So this is another old piece that I am not fully happy with. So you see here, you have very strong, thicker lines, and this is what we call what is known as deadweight style, where you have the thicker outline, and then you have the tinier little lines inside. But it gets overwhelming. If you notice right here, as I've been trying to redo things and put stuff in, but this is so busy. it's so much on your eyes. I think sometimes there's just so much little details, and this is when Jeremy loses his mind and over details things. So I go through and I've been drawing these mushrooms, trying to pop things out, trying to improve upon the scene to give it more balance. You have the fairy lady here who's more realistic. You know, there's been a lot of little stuff, but when you get so many heavy lines like this, as I put in, it gets overwhelming. Versus, let's see, let's find another piece that doesn't have that issue. Alright, I'll just, even though I've showed Misty before, I'll go ahead, just because I can't think of anything really quickly offhand besides making y'all wait. Alright, so I'm going to bring Misty up. See how different that is? So you have, it's still, I got a lot of details and stuff in the hair. I got a lot of cloth lines, which is probably, as I stated in other videos, probably unnecessary, but it's not such overwhelming on your eyes. It's just, you're going to, I know that I'm going to set this up for coloring. I know that I gotta let the color dictate with me. You know, where I love that little grass golem thing, and that's been like an redone of something I did years ago. And I love doing all those little details, but it gets very heavy for some people. So you got to think about that stuff as you're putting it together. So lately, that's why I've been trying to force myself to be thinner on some of my line width, to get rid of this super preciseness too, as much as I can, and put it all together. So just to give you guys an idea of growth, of things you learn over time, things that you had challenged yourself with, things to try to make yourself to get better about, and whatnot. So, and just to, you know, grow as an artist. You know, like I stated earlier in the stream, never, even if you do it as a hobby, even if you do it semi-professionally, and what I mean by semi-professionally is that you still have a full-time job and you're still doing work on schedule, you're still doing commissions, or you're doing it full-time, because anyone I can tell you that on all those different levels, there are all these levels and milestones that we're trying to achieve. So constantly keep pushing yourself. I could do this as I would normally do it and be done and put it together, but that doesn't push myself as an artist. That doesn't make me grow. That doesn't make me get better. You know, like I said, if it's something for a client or something you got to get done and it needs to be done, then do what you get the work done, because when you're getting paid, you got to get it done. Don't give them a crappy work, but get the work done. But when you're doing stuff like what I'm doing like now, this is a whole experiment for me. This is to force me to grow, to get out of my comfort zones, to even put myself online and show you in real time that I don't, on my angst and stuff, like, I don't want to show that. But that's reality. That is art. That's what all of us deal with every day, no matter what level you're at. And that's why I'm putting this stuff out. That's why I want you to see it. All right. So I'm gonna pull this rest of this back up so we can kind of get a look to cut this out for the day. Because like I said, in my last part of this, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep working on it. I may do a little bit more just to get it done, to have a little bit more done, because I feel like I want to get a little bit more seen than making you guys see a couple of sections like I have for the last videos and stuff, now that I'm putting it all together. As always, my friends, thank you for your support. I hope the one YouTuber who asked to see me draw in real time is happy, and if you guys want to see me stream more on YouTube, let me know. All you gotta do is ask, and I'll be happy to do it. As I said, my friends, be good to each other, never stop dreaming, and somebody help me get better without having to use the pen tool. Cheers, everyone.